Today, we are going to present about meninges of the brain. Meninges act as the protective membrane that surround the brain. It also protects the control nervous system from the trauma injury to the brain. There are three layers of meninges of the brain. The first one is dura mater, the second one is areata mater, and the third one is pia mater. One of the three layers of meninges brain is dura mater. Here, dura mater is outer layer closer to skull. It serves as protective barrier that contains cerebrospinal fluid. In dura mater, we have another two layers, which is parietal layer here attached to the skull, and another layer, which is meningeal layer, fixed to areata mater. In dura mater, we have space between the meninges, which is epidural space, the space between the skull and the dura mater. And another space is subdural space here, which is the space between dura mater and areata mater. The second layer of meninges of the brain is the areata mater. As you know, areata mater is the middle layer of the brain. There are two parts of areata mater. The first part is areata membrane. Areata membrane have subareata space between areata mater and pia mater. The second part is areata trabeculae. The last layer of the meningeal brain is pia mater. Here, pia mater is inner layer close to the brain. It bounds to the surface of the brain by astrocyte.
CSF can protect brain and spinal cord from external occlusions damage and adjusting intracranial pressures. Besides, it can also participate in the metabolism and maintain normal pH. CSF produces menin structure called cloac plexus in the lateral, third, and fourth ventricle. CSF flows from the lateral ventricle to the third ventricle. The third ventricle and the fourth ventricle are connected to each other by a structure called cerebral aqueduct. Then, CSF flows into the subarachnoid space through the lateral apertures and the median apertures. Absorptions of CSF into the bloodstream take place in the superior sagittal sinus through the structure called acnoid villus.
So now let's look at the choroid plexus in the lateral ventricle, third ventricle, and also fourth ventricle. The choroid plexus is a structure that produces the cerebrospinal fluid, and it consists of a network of blood capillary and ependymal cells. So the contents of the blood will be filtered by the ependymal cells, which only allow certain substances to pass into the ventricle. So these substances make up the cerebrospinal fluid. The reason why it only allows certain substances to pass through is because the blood capillary and also the ependymal cells, they are joined together by tight junction. So that means that only certain substances can pass through the cells. So as mentioned, the cerebrospinal fluid is going to end up in the subarachnoid space, which surrounds the brain and spinal cord, and it bars the brain and also spinal cord. So if the choroid plexus keeps producing more and more cerebrospinal fluid, it's going to increase the cranial pressure. So this cerebrospinal fluid needs to be drained out of the head. So how does it drain out of the head back into the blood capillary? So the cerebrospinal fluid will diffuse from the subarachnoid space into the superior sagittal sinus through a structure called arachnoid villus or arachnoid granulation. The sinuses in the brain are basically empty spaces in the brain, which consists of venous circulation. And the sinuses in the brain will converge into one large vein in the neck, which we call the internal jugular vein. And this is how cerebrospinal fluid can be recollected back into the blood circulation.
Assalamualaikum and very good morning. Today I want to talk about ventricle of the brain, known as fluid-filled cavities. It filled with cerebrospinal fluid, lined with ependymal cells. It's formed during development as neurons called expand within cerebral hemisphere, diencephalon and metacephalon, connected by narrow canal. First, I want to talk about lateral ventricle. Lateral ventricle contains within each cerebral hemisphere, separated medially by septum pellucidum. Roof functionally formed by a thick white matter tract connecting hemisphere called as corpus callosum. The lateral ventricle is connected to the third ventricle by interventricular foramen. That's it. Thank you.
Let me introduce third ventricle and fourth ventricle. The third ventricle is located in center of the brain between two thalamus. Have the functions of the secreting cerebrospinal fluid and participating in cerebrospinal circulation. The third ventricle connecting the lateral ventricle and fourth ventricle so that CSF circulation to maintain obstructed will play an important role can be autonomic nervous system and ventricle motor nervous system such as transmission of important substances. The fourth ventricle lies in front of cerebellum. The fourth ventricle has the functions of birth, nutrition, support, cerebrospinal fluid, excretion, and circulation, among which the most important functions is to participate in cerebrospinal fluid circulation.
Assalamualaikum and hello. My name is AISHYA binti SHAMSOL ARIFFIN from Group 7.
And I'm MANISSHA from Group 7.
And today we are going to talk about the brainstem, its components and its importance. So the brainstem, it connects the brain to the spinal cord. It holds the pathway between the brain and spinal cords and to the other parts of the brain, just like the cerebellum. And it has a lot of nuclei for its survival and for its cognitive function.
The brainstem consists of the medulla oblongata, pons, and midbrain. So the function of medulla oblongata is to connect to the spinal cord. It has nuclei, which is vital function, and then it contains sensory and motor tracts, which works to regulate breathing or involuntary or voluntary actions.
So pons, it connects the brain, the midbrain and the medulla oblongata, and it has cranial nerve nuclei. The cranial nerve nuclei functions as the brain and face sensation, and it has it controls the motor movement of the eyes, the face, and the mouth. It also helps with the hearing and autonomic function, just like tear production and saliva production.
So the midbrain consists of two parts, which is the superior colliculi and the inferior colliculi. So I'll be talking about the superior colliculi. Superior colliculi coordinate movement of the head, eyes, and trunk in response to visual stimuli.
For the inferior colliculi, it coordinates the movement of head, eyes, and trunk in response to the auditory stimuli. And in the midbrain, there is also a dopamine producing nuclei, which is the substantia nigra and the ventral tegmental. So the substantia nigra functions as controls the movement.
And the ventral tegmental is more towards to give us motivation or rewarding kind of feeling.
Thank you.